The stars shone quietly above the small human outpost on the edge of the solar system. Deep space had always been lonely, but tonight something was different. The communications array, a huge ring of metal and antennas, suddenly beeped loudly. A signal. Not the usual background chatter, but something strange. Something alive. Commander Hale, a tall man with tired eyes, stared at the screen. The team of scientists and engineers around him held their breath. The signal repeated itself, a series of strange tones, patterns that seemed almost intelligent. Dr. Lila Chen, the lead scientist, quickly connected the data to the translation algorithms. "It's an SOS," she whispered, hardly daring to speak louder. "Someone is calling for help." The room went silent. Calling for help was rare in deep space. To hear a message from a distant planet, thousands of light years away, was almost impossible. Hale rubbed his eyes. "Are we sure it's not a prank? A signal bouncing through the nebula?" he asked. Lila shook her head. "No, this is real. The pattern, it's deliberate. Someone needs help." Excitement mixed with fear. Humanity had always wondered if life existed beyond Earth, and now it seemed that life was reaching out. The scientists prepared a response. Lila's fingers flew over the console, sending a careful message back through the void. They had no idea who, or what, would receive it. Meanwhile, far beyond the edge of human exploration, something stirred. On a dark, rocky planet circling a red sun, the signal was received. Not by the friendly species the SOS was meant for, but by the Deathworlders. Their ships were massive, black as night, with jagged edges and glowing red engines. They were hunters of the stars, feared by every species that had ever encountered them. And now, they had received a message they did not understand. The Deathworlders interpreted the SOS as a challenge. To them, a distant species reaching out across the void was not a cry for help, it was a declaration of weakness. And weakness demanded destruction. The command was clear: prepare the mega warship. The largest weapon in their fleet, a ship so massive that it could consume entire planets, began to power up. Its engines ignited with a roar that could be felt across space, even though there was nothing to carry sound. Back at the human outpost, the scientists and military personnel were still celebrating. "This could be the first real contact," Hale said, a hint of pride in his voice. Lila nodded, but she felt a shiver run down her spine. Something about the signal was off. She couldn't explain it, but a sense of unease settled over her. Suddenly, the monitors flickered. An image appeared, not from their own transmissions, but from something approaching. A shadow moved across the distant stars, larger than any ship humanity had ever built. The crew froze. The shadow grew, and the size became clear. It was a ship, and it was enormous. It moved with intent, not curiosity, not exploration, purposeful, predatory. "Scan it," Hale ordered. The scanners strained against the emptiness of space. The readings were terrifying. The warship was armed with weapons humanity had only theorized about. Energy cannons capable of destroying entire cities. Defense shields that could shrug off nuclear missiles. And it was heading straight for them. Panic spread through the outpost. Messages were sent to Earth, but they would take hours, even days, to arrive. The people on the small station were on their own. Engineers rushed to prepare escape pods. Scientists tried to gather what research they could. And all the while, the signal that had started this nightmare continued to pulse quietly in the background. Lila studied it again. She felt a cold realization. The SOS, it was not meant for these creatures. These monsters were not looking for help. They were looking for destruction. And now, because of a simple mistake, humanity was the closest target. The first warning shots arrived. Not at the station, but at the edge of the solar system, where mining colonies floated among the asteroids. Entire settlements vanished in brilliant bursts of light, leaving nothing but floating debris. The Deathworlders' message was clear: any species in their path would be obliterated. Hale barked orders. We need to move the civilians, now. The crew scrambled, loading small transport ships and shuttles. Explosions lit up the screens. The warship was closer, moving faster than anything humans had ever faced. Fear mixed with determination. They had never fought anything like this, but survival demanded courage. As the warship entered the outer edge of the solar system, a terrifying silhouette appeared against the backdrop of stars. Its hull was enormous, jagged, alive with red energy. The humans stared at it in disbelief. Lila whispered, almost to herself, "We weren't supposed to get this message. They weren't supposed to come." Hale put a hand on her shoulder. "Well, they did. And now, we survive or we die." And somewhere in the distance, the Deathworlders' warship prepared to unleash its first attack, unaware that a species not meant to receive the SOS was about to face the full fury of the Deathworlders. The stars, once calm and silent, now seemed like a battlefield waiting to erupt. And humanity had only begun to understand the danger it had accidentally invited into its home. The mega warship moved like a shadow across the stars, silent yet unstoppable. Humanity's small fleet of scout ships could barely track its approach. Every human eye in the command room of the orbital station was glued to the monitors. The sheer size of the warship was impossible to comprehend. It was longer than any human city, wider than entire continents, and bristling with weapons that glowed red like molten lava. Commander Hale clenched his fists. "We need to give them a warning. Prepare the long-range communication array," he ordered. The crew scrambled, sending messages of peace and warning. They had no idea if the Deathworlders could even understand them, or if they would care. Deep inside the warship, the Deathworlders moved with precision. Their many limbs worked in perfect synchrony. They did not speak, not in any language humans could understand. Their thoughts were direct, sharp, and deadly. The SOS had been received, and their interpretation was simple: intrusion, weakness, attack. On the human side, panic had already started to spread. Mining colonies on the asteroid belt had no defense. Small freighters, carrying precious minerals, were the first targets. From the warship's hull, energy beams shot out like the fire of 1,000 suns. Entire colonies were vaporized in seconds. Humanity's first real encounter with the Deathworlders was a disaster. Lila Chen watched in horror as the monitors displayed floating debris. It's destroying everything," she whispered. Her hands trembled over the console. The SOS, meant as a call for help, had led to unimaginable destruction. Hale placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "We don't have time to mourn. We fight to survive." The humans tried to organize resistance. Fighter ships launched from the orbital stations, their small engines barely making a dent against the warship's shields. Missiles streaked across space, exploding harmlessly against the Deathworlders' armor. Every attack seemed futile, every effort a reminder of how weak humanity was. Yet, even in fear, determination burned. A young pilot, Jax, dodged a massive laser beam that sliced through an asteroid nearby. "They're fast, faster than anything we've seen," he shouted into the comm. His voice carried both terror and awe. Around him, other pilots tried desperate maneuvers, using the asteroid belt as cover. The warship's weapons were precise, cutting through rocks and ships with deadly accuracy. Inside the command room, Hale and Lila worked frantically. "We need a plan," Lila said. "We can't fight them head-on. They're too strong." Hale nodded. "We'll buy time. Evacuate civilians. Keep the fleet alive. We find a weakness." But even as he spoke, another energy beam tore through the nearby mining station, sending a bright flash across the void. The Deathworlders' warship advanced slowly but deliberately, its shadow falling over planets, moons, and asteroid colonies. Every planet within reach felt the tension. Humans on Mars, on Europa, and even Earth's distant colonies monitored the approach with fear. The realization was sinking in: this was not an exploration. This was a hunt. Humanity was the prey. Then, something unexpected happened. One of the scout ships, piloted by Captain Reyes, managed to get close to the warship's hull. His small vessel flashed across the radar, a tiny spark in the immense darkness. From inside the warship, sensors picked it up, but the Deathworlders paused. They had never faced such daring, such recklessness. Reyes sent back images, blinking warnings, glimpses of the ship's surface, the jagged lines, the red glow, the enormity of it all. On the station, scientists analyzed the data. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," Lila said. "The hull, it's living? Or at least, reactive. It changes, adapts." Hale swallowed hard. "So fighting it will only make it stronger. We can't destroy it with brute force." While the humans debated, the first attack on a populated world began. The warship released smaller drones, sleek, deadly machines that tore through defenses with ease. Colonies tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless. Cities disappeared in fire and smoke. The Deathworlders did not hesitate, did not negotiate, did not feel remorse. And then, a moment of hope, an anomaly in the warship's shields. A small region flickered, weaker than the rest. Lila noticed it on the screens, her finger trembling as she pointed. There's a weakness. We might be able to exploit it." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Then that's our plan. We find a way to strike there. But it won't be easy." The night sky, once a calm expanse, was now a battlefield. Human ships darted like fireflies, dodging massive beams, explosions lighting the void. The warship loomed, unstoppable, and every second of delay meant more destruction. Yet humanity's will did not break. Despite fear, panic, and loss, they continued to fight, hoping to survive long enough to strike back. As the part ends, the warship's main cannon charged, a red glow growing in its center. Hale gritted his teeth. "Brace yourselves. This is only the beginning." And somewhere in the darkness, the Deathworlders' collective mind pulsed with anticipation. They were predators, and humanity had unknowingly walked into their hunting ground. The silence of space had ended. Now, only chaos remained. The aftermath of the first attack left the human fleet shaken. Smoke and debris floated through the void, and small planets and colonies had vanished in fire. Commander Hale stood on the command deck, staring at the warship's outline against the stars. Its jagged hull seemed alive, moving with deadly purpose. The Deathworlders were not just attacking, they were hunting. Dr. Lila Chin pored over the incoming data, her eyes wide with realization. "Hale, the SOS signal," she said, her voice trembling. "It wasn't meant for them." Hale frowned. "What do you mean?" Lila pointed at the decrypted signal on the screen. The message: they were asking for help from a friendly species. Not the Deathworlders. We sent it. Our response reached them first." Hale's stomach dropped. "We triggered this," he whispered. The crew in the room fell silent. Panic and disbelief spread like wildfire. One simple mistake, one innocent attempt to answer a cry for help, had unleashed a monster. "Then it's a miscommunication," Lila continued. "They don't understand. To them, this message is a challenge. A call to attack. They see weakness, not a plea for aid." The truth hit hard. Humanity was not only facing a species stronger than anything they had imagined, they were the wrong species entirely. The Deathworlders had no mercy, no diplomacy. Misunderstanding was irrelevant. Survival was all that mattered. Hale clenched his fists. "We need to warn everyone. The colonies, Earth, every ship. This is bigger than anything we planned for." Meanwhile, the Deathworlders' warship moved slowly through the system, its massive engines leaving trails of red energy. They scanned every planet, every asteroid belt, every shuttle. For the Deathworlders, this was not just an attack, it was a hunting ritual. Weak prey must be eliminated, and any sign of resistance crushed immediately. On a distant colony, a small fleet tried to respond. Human missiles streaked through the dark, but the warship's shields absorbed every strike. The Deathworlders' drones descended, precise and deadly. Entire fighter squadrons vanished within seconds. Panic swept across the command rooms of every planet. Humanity was unprepared, and the Deathworlders knew it. Back on the command station, Lila worked feverishly to find any advantage. "Hale, look at this," she said, bringing up a 3D model of the warship. "I think I see a pattern. Their weapons, their shields, they aren't perfect. There's a part, near the engines, that fluctuates. If we target it, we might slow them down." Hale nodded. "We'll need a small strike team. Stealth, speed, precision. The risk is high, but it's our only chance." He looked at the crew, their faces pale but determined. "We have to try. For Earth. For the colonies. For everyone." As the humans prepared, the Deathworlders seemed almost aware of the strategy forming against them. Their sensors glowed brighter, sweeping through space like the eyes of a predator. They did not feel fear, nor curiosity. Only focus. Any movement, any attempt to interfere with their hunt, would be destroyed. The SOS signal pulsed quietly in the background, the unintentional trigger of the chaos. Every beep reminded Lila of the cost of their mistake. "We wanted to help," she whispered, almost to herself. "And instead, we invited death." Hale's voice cut through her thoughts. "Now we fight. We survive. That's all we can do." Meanwhile, scouts reported the warship moving closer to inhabited systems. Light years of space were being crossed in days, faster than human technology could fully track. Civilian transports tried to escape, but many were caught in the wake of the warship's drones. Explosions lit up the darkness, burning against the cold void. In a tense moment, one scout pilot, Jax, radioed back. "Commander, there's something strange. Their behavior. It's not random. It's like they're hunting, testing us." Hale nodded grimly. "Exactly. That's why we have to find their weakness. That's why every second counts." The humans worked through the night, strategizing, evacuating civilians, preparing small strike teams. Every screen showed destruction, but hope was still alive. The plan was risky, perhaps impossible, but humanity had little choice. Survival demanded courage, ingenuity, and unity. The warship loomed closer. Its shadow swallowed moons and asteroids. Its weapons hummed, ready to fire at the slightest movement. The Deathworlders were patient, calculating, unstoppable. Humanity had no illusions. They were facing a predator they could barely understand. Yet even in fear, determination burned brighter. Lila finally looked at Hale, her eyes resolute. "We may have sent them the wrong message," she said. "But now, we fight. And we fight smart." The first real hope of counterattack was forming, small but daring. Humanity would not surrender without a fight. The Deathworlders may have misunderstood the SOS, but humans would use every tool, every skill, every ounce of courage to survive what they had accidentally unleashed. As the part ended, the warship's red glow dominated the sky, a silent warning. Humanity knew that one mistake had cost them dearly, but the real battle was only just beginning. The sky above the human colonies was no longer calm. The red glow of the Deathworlders' warship stretched across the stars, casting an ominous shadow over every planet in the outer system. Commander Hale paced on the command deck, watching the monitors as the warship's drones swept through space, destroying anything in their path. Humanity's small fleet of fighters and scout ships darted like sparks in the void, but each attack seemed pointless. "Sir, the warship is approaching our position," reported Captain Reyes, his voice tense. "If we don't act now, the station will be obliterated." Hale nodded, his jaw tight. "Prepare the defenses. All hands on combat stations. We fight, or we die." Lila Chen's fingers flew over the console, coordinating every ship's movements. "Their shields are strong, almost unbreakable. But I think I found a weak spot near the engine array," she said. "If we can strike there, we might slow them down, even just a little." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Then we go. Strike Team Alpha, follow Lila's coordinates. Everyone else, distract them." The first wave of human fighters surged forward. Small, fast, and nimble, they zipped between asteroids and debris, dodging the warship's enormous energy beams. Explosions lit the darkness as drones engaged them, firing precise lasers that tore through hulls. Ships burned, pilots screamed over the comms, but humanity refused to retreat. Every second counted. Jax led a squadron of fighters toward the massive hull, weaving through the Deathworlders' patrols. "Hold tight," he shouted into the comm, "stay sharp and don't lose focus." His ship shook violently as a laser hit the side, scorching metal and smoke filling the cockpit. "We can't stop now," he muttered. "Not when they're this close." Inside the warship, the Deathworlders sensed the intrusion. Their multiple limbs worked in perfect synchrony, controlling weapons, scanning for threats, reacting with terrifying speed. To them, this was not just a fight, it was a test of their prey. Every human maneuver was noted, every small attack catalogued. The strike team, following Lila's coordinates, approached the critical engine array. The glow of the energy core pulsed like a heartbeat, massive and dangerous. One wrong move and they would be obliterated instantly. Jax guided the ships carefully, dodging defense turrets and beams of red energy. The tension was unbearable. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the team. A Deathworlder drone had fired unexpectedly, narrowly missing one of the ships. "We're taking heavy fire," yelled one of the pilots. "Fall back, no. Keep going." Jax countered. The energy core was within reach. They had seconds to act. Lila's voice crackled in their earpieces. "Aim for the reactor nodes. Precision fire only. If we hit them, the warship's power will falter. Do not miss." The pilots fired with all their skill. Lasers and missiles streaked across space, hitting the reactor nodes with sparks of light. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing had changed. Then, the warship shuddered. A low, resonating hum filled the void. The energy beams flickered. The shields wavered. Humanity's small strike had worked. But the cost was high. Several fighters were destroyed, drifting silently as burning wrecks through the void. Jax gritted his teeth, guiding the remaining ships back to safety. "We did it. But they'll retaliate." And retaliate they did. The warship's main cannon charged, a brilliant red glow expanding as it prepared to fire. Hale barked orders. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Civilians, evacuate immediately." The human fleet scattered, weaving between asteroids, trying to survive the oncoming storm. Energy beams struck everywhere. Small planets shook. Stations trembled. Panic spread, but humanity refused to surrender. Even as destruction rained down, the human spirit burned brighter than ever. Every explosion, every loss, every moment of fear only strengthened their resolve. Inside the command room, Hale and Lila watched the warship's reactions. "They're angry," Lila said quietly. "They didn't expect resistance." Hale nodded grimly. "And now they know they're dealing with humans. That could work in our favor." The battle continued for hours, a deadly dance between predator and prey. The strike team's bravery had slowed the warship, but it was far from defeated. Humanity was battered, but alive. Every second of survival was a victory. Every maneuver, a testament to ingenuity and courage. Finally, as the warship pulled back slightly to recalibrate its weapons, Hale allowed himself a moment to breathe. "We've bought time," he said. "But this is only the beginning. They'll return, stronger, faster, and angrier. We need a plan, and we need it now." Lila's eyes never left the monitors. "I think I know where we can strike next. If we can get inside their systems, if we can find their core, maybe, just maybe, we can turn this around." The humans looked out at the massive shadow looming over their solar system. Fear mixed with determination. They had faced the Deathworlders once and survived. But the true battle, the fight for survival, had only just begun. And somewhere deep in the dark hull of the warship, the Deathworlders pulsed with awareness. They had learned something about their prey. They would adapt. They would hunt. and humanity would need more than bravery to survive the next encounter. The human fleet regrouped in the outer reaches of the solar system. Smoke and debris from the first encounter still floated in space, a grim reminder of the warship's power. Commander Hale stood on the command deck, staring at the stars, thinking. Every loss, every destroyed colony, weighed on him. Humanity was battered, but not broken. They had survived the first attack, and now they needed a plan. Dr. Lila Chen moved quickly between consoles, pulling data from every sensor, every scout ship, every satellite. "Hale," she said, "we can't fight them head-on. Their shields, weapons, everything, they're too strong. But I think I found a weak point in the engine array." Hale frowned. "How weak?" "Enough to destroy them." "Not destroy," Lila replied, "but enough to slow them down. If we can destabilize the core, the warship will lose power temporarily. Their weapons will falter. Their shields will drop. It's our only chance." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Then we plan carefully. Every move counts. We can't afford mistakes." The fleet's engineers and scientists worked around the clock. Small strike teams were formed, each assigned a critical task. Fighter pilots trained to navigate the tight spaces around the warship, learning to dodge energy beams and drones. Engineers prepared special payloads designed to target the energy nodes in the warship's engine core. Lila gathered the team for a briefing. "We have only one chance to get close to the core. The warship is massive, and its sensors are almost perfect. We'll use stealth technology to sneak past patrols. Timing is everything. If even one drone detects us, the mission fails." Jax, the young pilot, clenched his fists. "Then we succeed, or we die trying." His squad nodded, understanding the gravity of their task. There was fear, yes, but also courage. Humanity had no choice but to fight smart. Meanwhile, the Deathworlders' warship drifted through the system, scanning and analyzing. Their red glow pulsed as they moved with lethal precision. They sensed the humans were planning something. To them, preparation meant weakness, hesitation, and opportunity to strike. Back on the command station, Hale worked tirelessly with the scientists. Every maneuver, every timing, every trajectory was calculated. Civilians were evacuated, and the remaining fleet positioned to create diversions. Explosions and laser fire were expected to cover the strike team's approach. Lila's fingers flew across the console. "We can't just hit the core from outside. We need to get inside, bypass the outer defenses, and place our payloads directly." Hale's jaw tightened. "So we go in. Small team, inside the warship. One shot, one chance." The plan was simple, terrifying, and nearly impossible. A small human shuttle, modified with stealth fields, would approach the warship from the blind spot Lila had identified. Inside, engineers and pilots would carry explosives designed to disrupt the engine array. Timing, precision, and nerves of steel would be everything. Hours before the mission, Hale walked among the crew. Every face was tense but determined. Fear was everywhere, but so was resolve. "We can't lose hope," he said quietly. "The odds are against us, but we have something they don't: creativity, courage, and the will to survive." Lila double-checked the shuttle systems. Engines stable. Stealth field operational. "We'll only have minutes inside the warship before sensors pick us up. Every second counts." The pilots ran simulations, practicing maneuvers over and over. Every misstep could mean death. The scientists prepared the payloads, ensuring each explosive would detonate precisely to destabilize the engine core. As the small shuttle launched from the human station, the fleet created diversions. Fighters streaked across space, drawing drones away, while engineers monitored every movement. The warship's massive hull loomed ahead, red glow pulsating, weapons scanning, defenses alive and alert. Inside the shuttle, the strike team held their breath. The interior was cramped, the hum of engines loud in their ears. Lila whispered to the team, "Remember, this is humanity's only chance. We can't fail." Jax nodded, gripping his controls. We'll make it count. For Earth, for the colonies, for everyone. The shuttle slipped past patrols, weaving through gaps in the warship sensors. Every moment was tense. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and they would be incinerated instantly. The warship's massive hull stretched endlessly before them. Its energy core pulsed like a heartbeat, bright and deadly. The strike team knew that the next few minutes would decide the fate of the solar system. And as they approached the core, silent in the darkness, every member of the team felt the weight of the mission. The Deathworlders were not just enemies, they were predators, and humanity had stumbled into their hunt. Success would require courage, skill, and a little luck. Hale, watching from the command station, whispered a quiet prayer. Come on, team, survive, and show them what humanity can do. The shuttle slipped closer, the energy core glowing brighter, and the mission began. The small human shuttle drifted silently toward the warship. Its stealth fields shimmered faintly against the dark void of space, making it almost invisible to the massive predator ahead. Inside, the strike team held their breath. Every face was tense, every muscle tight. There was no turning back now. Jax piloted carefully, weaving through the jagged hull of the warship. Outside, red energy beams from the warship swept the surrounding space, destroying any ship that got too close. The humans moved like shadows, ghosts slipping past a hunter's gaze. Steady, steady, Lila whispered, her eyes glued to the instruments. Sensors detect minimal activity in this section. Move now, quickly. The shuttle slipped through a narrow docking bay, its engines quiet, its shields holding against magnetic pulses. The team entered the massive interior of the warship, the walls alive with glowing conduits and humming energy. The sheer size of the warship was terrifying. Corridors stretched endlessly, alive with alien technology, and the hum of the engine core echoed through every hall. We stick to the plan, Hale's voice crackled in their earpieces. Avoid patrols, reach the core, plant the payloads. Precision is everything. The strike team moved carefully. Every corner, every shadow could hide a Deathworlder drone. The alien sensors were relentless, scanning constantly, detecting movement with terrifying accuracy. One misstep could trigger alarms, bringing the full fury of the warship down on them. Suddenly, a shadow moved ahead, a massive drone, its glowing red eyes scanning. Jax froze, holding his breath. The drone paused, then turned away. The team exhaled silently. That was too close, whispered one of the engineers. Keep moving. They navigated through twisting corridors, following Lila's coordinates. The hum of the engine grew louder with every step. They were close. Too close. The energy core's glow pulsed like a heartbeat, bright and dangerous, bathing the walls in red light. Payloads ready, Lila whispered. The engineers carefully unpacked the explosives, checking timing and placement. Every second counted. One miscalculation and the core would detonate, obliterating the team instantly. As they approached the reactor nodes, a low rumble shook the corridor. The warship seemed to sense their presence. Red lights flashed along the walls, and alarms began to hum softly. Jax's hands flew over the controls. We need to work faster. They're detecting us. The team split into two groups, placing explosives on multiple nodes simultaneously. Sweat ran down their faces, hearts pounding, hands shaking. Every movement had to be precise. Every second was a race against detection. A sudden noise, metal scraping against metal, made them freeze. A Deathworlder patrol rounded the corner, limbs moving with terrifying speed. One engineer ducked into a side passage, narrowly avoiding detection. Jax guided the shuttle to block the patrol's path temporarily, buying the team precious seconds. Almost done. Lila shouted. Just a few more nodes. The team worked frantically, placing the final charges. The hum of the engine core grew louder, pulsing dangerously. One misstep, 1 second too late, and they would die. Finally, the last explosive was set. Lila activated the timers, syncing them with the shuttle's departure. Go, 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 she shouted. The team ran back toward the shuttle, weaving through the corridors, dodging patrols and energy beams. The tension was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. Outside, Jax piloted the shuttle carefully, waiting for the team. The warship's alarms blared, red lights flashing violently. They had been detected, but the explosives were already armed. "Hold on," Lila said, gripping the console. Timer set. Detonation in 5, 4, 3, 2. A massive explosion shook the interior of the warship. The engine core pulsed violently, energy beams flickering and dying for brief moments. Red lights dimmed, alarms screamed, and the warship shuddered. Humanity's strike had worked. The warship was destabilized. The shuttle escaped just in time, zooming through the corridors and blasting out into open space. The team looked back at the massive vessel, red glow flickering, systems failing. They had survived, and they had struck a blow against the Deathworlders. Inside the warship, the Deathworlders' reaction was swift and deadly. They adjusted, reconfigured, and repaired, their mind-like collective adapting to the sabotage. Humanity had slowed them, but the warship was far from destroyed. Hale watched the monitors from the command station. "We've bought time," he said quietly. "But they'll recover. And next time, they'll come faster, smarter, angrier." Lila nodded, exhaustion on her face. "We made the impossible possible. But this fight, it's far from over." The stars above the solar system were silent again, for a moment. But in the darkness, the red glow of the Deathworlders' warship still pulsed, a constant reminder that humanity had only survived, not won. And somewhere deep inside the massive vessel, the Deathworlders' awareness pulsed, sensing the humans' ingenuity. They would adapt. They would hunt again. And humanity would need every ounce of courage and intelligence to survive what was coming next. The small human shuttle raced through the void, engines screaming, the massive warship looming behind like a red shadow of death. Inside, the strike team held their breath, adrenaline burning in their veins. Every second mattered. The explosives had detonated, destabilizing the engine core, but the warship was far from destroyed. Its immense mass was still alive, still dangerous. Jax piloted carefully, weaving through energy bursts and debris. The hull of the warship shuddered violently behind them, flickering with sparks of dying energy. The humans had struck a blow, but the Predator was not finished. Every second, the warship adjusted, recalibrating its massive systems, trying to hunt down the small intruders. "Hold tight," shouted one of the engineers. "They're coming after us." Outside, smaller drones streaked through space, energy beams blazing. The shuttle dodged, narrowly avoiding destruction. The tension was unbearable. One mistake could mean the end. Lila Chen's fingers flew over the console. "I've initiated the chain reaction. The engine core will overload in 3 minutes. That's our window to escape. Everyone stay focused." The shuttle rocketed past corridors filled with alien machinery, the hum of the warship echoing like a heartbeat. The strike team moved with precision, checking every system, ready for the worst. Outside, Hale and the fleet coordinated a diversion. Fighters streaked across the battlefield, drawing drones away. Small explosions erupted, masking the shuttle's exit. Civilians and remaining ships moved carefully, dodging beams and debris. Humanity's survival depended on timing, skill, and luck. 3 minutes. Lila shouted. The red glow of the engine core grew brighter, pulsing violently. Sparks and energy arcs danced across the warship's interior. The massive Predator was destabilizing. The humans had done the impossible. Jax's hands flew over the controls. "Hold steady. Almost there." The shuttle slipped through a narrow exit, engines screaming, lights flashing across the hull. Behind them, the warship trembled, systems failing one by one. Then, a massive explosion rocked the vessel. The engine core erupted in a brilliant burst of energy. The warship shuddered violently, and a massive section of its hull collapsed into space. Energy beams flickered and died. The Predator had been wounded, its systems crippled. Humanity had struck a significant blow. But victory was not without cost. The shuttle shuddered, alarms blaring. Debris from the collapsing hull threatened to tear them apart. The strike team worked frantically, stabilizing the ship, hearts pounding. Every second was a battle against destruction. Outside, the warship's shadow lingered, massive and red, but its engines sputtered. It was damaged, not defeated. Hale watched from the command station, relief mixing with fear. "We survived," he said quietly. "But they'll come back. And next time, it might not be just one warship." The shuttle escaped into open space, the team breathing heavily, sweat and relief mixing. They had done what seemed impossible. The warship had been destabilized, humanity had survived, and hope remained alive. Lila looked at the glowing lights of the warship fading behind them. "We've won a battle, not the war," she said softly. "We need to prepare, or they'll return stronger." Jax leaned back, exhaustion on his face. "We did it. We survived against something they said was impossible to fight. Maybe humanity is stronger than they thought." The stars above the solar system were calm again, at least for a moment. The colonies were battered, the fleet damaged, but the human spirit burned brighter than ever. They had survived the Deathworlders, the hunters of the stars, and lived to fight another day. But in the darkness, deep in the vast reaches of space, the Deathworlders pulsed with awareness. They had lost a battle, not the war. Their rage simmered, their collective mind calculating, planning. Humanity had survived this encounter, but the universe was vast, and the predators of the stars did not forget mistakes. And somewhere, the echoes of the SOS signal lingered, a reminder of the chain of events that had brought destruction so close to the human race. One innocent message had nearly ended everything. Hale turned to the crew. "We've survived. We've proven we can fight. But this is only the beginning. Stay ready. Stay alert. The next encounter will decide the future of humanity." The shuttle moved through the calm of space, carrying heroes who had stared death in the face. Behind them, the red glow of the warship faded, but the memory of its terror remained. Humanity had survived, but the stars had changed forever. The solar system was safe, for now. But in the vast darkness, the predators of the galaxy waited. And humanity would need all its courage, all its skill, and all its will to survive what came next.